I've been working on an extremely delicate ROM hack, which fixes almost every problem in Fire Emblem 6 while changing as little as possible. I did not make any attempts to directly change the balance of the game by adjusting any character's stats. Instead, my philosophy was to give the players more access to existing game mechanics in order to expand the freedom and the agency that the player has when choosing their team, routing out their supports, and playing their way through the game. I believe this increases both the fun and the viability of units across the board for both casual players and extremely optimized players without changing the feeling that you're playing Fire Emblem 6. Let's start with the first change, the one that inspired this hack. The first thing I changed was making it so that every character in the game, instead of gaining 1, 2, or 3 support points per turn, they now gain 40 support points per turn. Now hold on a second, this sounds like a pretty major change. This seems like a big gesture on the surface, but it is surprisingly subtle, and it has farther reaching consequences than you might imagine. Characters can still only have 5 support levels, so it's not like you can use this mechanic to stack a bunch of supports and get an insane number of extra stats. The limit of support points per chapter is still 120, so you won't be maximizing all of your support levels immediately. But what you will notice is that 40 divides really nicely into this number, into 120. The only thing I actually changed was making it so that instead of beating the chapter while losing support points along the way, every time your characters stand next to each other by accident, or being forced to stand in really weird formations the entire time, and then at the end of the chapter you have to spam the end turn command for 40 turns, which everyone universally hates doing. Instead, it only requires 3 actions. You can do them at the very start of each chapter, and then for the rest of the battle, focused on actually, playing the game, the way you would play a video game, without mashing the end turn command for dozens of turns, for 10 or for 15 minutes. All I did was take something extremely tedious and turned it into a process that only takes about 30 seconds. You don't get this benefit for free. You still need to think about how to position your units on the first few turns to make sure those 120 points get distributed out in exactly 3 lots of 40 points each, to the pairings that you want to raise. If you enjoy the high-end optimization and team building of Fire Emblem 6, I think this allows you to access this feature while wasting significantly less of your own time. And for casual players, most of them would never engage with the support mechanic in Vanilla FE6 to begin with, but in my hack, they're going to be able to use this feature. Even players who only care about the story, don't really care about the gameplay, now suddenly a lot of extra text, a lot of extra story has become available to them. And honestly, the writing in FE6 is actually a bit underrated. It's known as a basic game with a bare-bones story and characters, but that's not really true. Most of the best writing in this game is hidden behind support conversations that most players will never read. This adjustment that I've made allows players to read the best writing in the game. They can grow more attached to these characters, learn more about their development, the overall story, and the world building. And on top of that, one of Fire Emblem 6's other most notorious problems is the bad hit rates and the bad accuracy for a lot of your units. You're often forced into positions where you need to make unreliable attacks on player phase, and that never really feels good. Well, without directly changing the hit rates of any weapons, or changing the stats of any characters, this change to the support system actually helps fix this problem, specifically for casual players. The kind of people who wouldn't normally go through the tedious process of grinding supports. But when you're standing within 3 tiles of your support partner, you get bonuses to your derived combat stats, including, in many cases, accuracy. This means that these players are now going to have more accurate attacks across the board. Despite the fact that I didn't actually change anything, I didn't actually buff anything, your hit rates are going to feel a lot better. All I did was give players access to an existing mechanic that was previously tedious, archaic, obtuse, and just really stupid before. It was dumb, and I fixed it. Now you can support your characters without wasting a bunch of time. Isn't that great? Originally, this was going to be my only change, and I was going to release the hack with that change. But I was inspired to make a full improvement patch that increases the quality of life of this game while still keeping it as close to the experience of Vanilla FE6 as possible, because I actually really like Fire Emblem 6, and I want to play a version of the game that fixes any of my minor complaints without fundamentally changing what the game actually is. And I figure, if I'm going to do that anyway, I might as well share it with other people. So if you want to play it, you'll be able to play it as well. It's not quite ready yet, but it will be soon. Now, this next one is a personal thing of mine, and I can see how this one might be popular or unpopular with different players, because it does change something. But personally speaking, I hate Fog of War. It is by far, without a doubt, my least favorite mechanic in Fire Emblem, the entire series. And yes, I hate it more than ambush spawns. I hate it more than desert tiles. I hate it more than status staves. Anything else that you can think of, I hate Fog of War even more. My original idea was to just remove Fog of War from the game, because that's what I would do if I was making a Fire Emblem game. But this felt a little bit too selfish. If I'm going to share the hack with other people, I don't want to remove the fog from the game. I don't want to change something that other people might still want in there. And when I was talking to my friend about it, he also pointed out something to me where removing the fog actually causes other problems. For example, he likes to use the Fog of War maps to grind his staff rank and to get experience with certain units by having them use the torch staff every turn. Additionally, if there's no fog, there's going to be even less of a reason to deploy your thieves on these specific maps. So what I did was come up with a more elegant and more subtle and more simple solution. I increased the visibility in fog for all of the units in the game by a few tiles, and using a thief expands this radius even further. The torch and the torch staff still work the same way. They give you even more vision in this new, brighter fog that I created. And using the torch staff, you can still get experience, you can still get staff rank on these characters in those chapters. Best of all, I think I hit a really nice Goldilocks style range here. It's not too much and it's not too little. My change is subtle enough that you might not even notice the difference between this game and Vanilla FE6 if I didn't tell you what I did. But it's impactful enough that those few extra tiles of vision, they genuinely give you a better view of the map, and they allow you to make more informed decisions in battle without just arbitrarily hiding information from the player. One of the reasons why I think people might not notice this is because, actually in FE6 there's already a mechanic where the range of the fog in each map is different, and this is something I don't think I ever even knew about. There are common numbers that pop up over and over again in certain chapters, but the fog still ranges a lot, from 3 tiles all the way to I think either 7 or 9 was the max before I changed it. And this is something that a lot of people also probably never even noticed before. So anyway, in my hack, what I did was I standardized the fog into 2 ranges instead of having all this variable fog. I took any of the maps that have a small amount of vision and I rounded it all the way up to 7 tiles. You've already seen the maps with 7 tiles of visibility in the game when you were playing FE6, so if you look at this, your brain might not even realize that the maps were changed. Then I took any map which originally had 7 or more visibility, the larger maps already, and I just increased them all the way to 11. The new standard large fog size is a bit larger, but this is only featured on a few maps and they're very large to begin with. While playing the hack for testing purposes, my friend said that it was specifically really noticeable with the thief vision, which I think is actually a great thing. It makes the thieves that much more valuable if they're able to provide so much extra vision on the fog maps that you can actually feel the difference. I did take a lot of suggestions from Reddit comments and YouTube community posts, and I plan to look at the comments for this video to get some more ideas before releasing the final version of this hack. But before I talk about the suggested changes, I want to talk about one more change of my own design and a change that was my own decision. This one has bigger ramifications and wider implications than the support change, but I think it's still very vanilla coded, and I think it's justified. And I'm going to do my best to explain my thought process. This is another case where I didn't technically change anything, but I changed access to an existing thing. Okay, so I took every promotion item in the game, and I changed all of them to master seals, which can be used on any unit. The reason why I did this is because FE6 has a very large cast, and the tier list for this game, it's pretty solved, and they're very, very discrete tiers. With limited promotion items, this indirectly causes a pretty serious problem, and my solution to indirectly fix this serious problem was to remove that limit on promotion items. So for those who don't know, let me explain how this works and what my change accomplishes. Basically, in Vanilla FE6, you have an item like the Hero Crest that you get in Chapter 7. This could normally only be used to promote mercenaries, myrmidons, and fighters. Now, if you've played this, and even if you haven't played it, you probably might already know that Rutger is really, really good in this game. This means that every mercenary, every myrmidon, and every fighter is directly competing with Rutger to get that first Hero's Crest, and they're not going to get another chance to promote until later in the game when you find another. Specifically, you have to find another Hero Crest. There's no other promotion item that works, and this really hamstrings a lot of characters' viability. In my hack, the Hero Crest is now a Master Seal, and it can be used to promote any character that you want. So first of all, now when you get to Chapter 7, you can take whichever unit you prefer, and you can promote them instead of feeling like you have to promote Rutger. Additionally, if you want to use characters like Lot, Deke, Ward, and even OJ, for some reason, if you wanted to, give them a Master Seal, and it doesn't take away from your ability to promote Rutger as soon as possible. There's far less of an opportunity cost, and this indirectly makes these low-tier characters in the game more viable, without changing their base stats, without changing their growth, just by making them not compete directly with Rutger for a Hero Crest. There's actually more of a reason to use them. The only change I made was allowing the player to have more freedom when choosing their team in playing through the game. Now, I know what some of you are probably saying. If this change exists, people are going to use it to optimize the fun out of the game, and I don't exactly agree with that. I do think some players will use this to optimize the game to an extreme level by only giving Master Seals to the best units, and exclusively using those units, without needing to worry about limited Night Crests or limited Guiding Rings. But the thing is, for those players, it will be fun for them to play the game that way. So they have optimized the game, but they did not optimize the fun out of it, they optimized the fun into it. Additionally, the lack of Night Crests and the lack of Guiding Rings is an extremely common complaint from both casual and hardcore players. So this change is letting people play the game the way that they want to play it. There's nothing stopping you from using these Mastered Seals to use the standard Vanilla FE6 meta promotion order and building the same team that you would always build. But for the people who want to roll up with a team of full paladins or full generals, or for the people who want to use Lot, or the people who want to use Deke, want to use Lou, they want to send a bunch of warriors and berserkers into battle, if they want to promote all of the Pegasus Knights as soon as possible, nothing is stopping them from playing the game the way that they want to play it. The only thing I changed was giving more agency to the player. On this note, I want to say two things. Number one, I am thinking of adding a few extra Master Seals early in the game. My idea for doing this is that I think it would be really cool if the player could actually buy one Master Seal from a specific shop, or maybe two different shops early on. Because this is another thing, later on in the game, you can buy these items, but at that point, it's way too late and you don't want them and you don't need them. Allowing the player to actually buy them at a time when it matters, when spending the money has a serious opportunity cost, but gaining the item is a serious benefit, makes it worth considering. It's an actual resource management. I think this is another case of just taking something that already exists, the ability to buy promotion items, but actually making it accessible to the player within a time frame that matters, so you can actually buy promotion items, not in theory, but in practice, in a way that helps your run, impacts your strategy, and opens up new strategies. Now, here's the second thing. One of the most commonly requested features that I got from the comments in this hack is the ability to promote Roy early in the game. Well, great news. I wasn't originally going to make any changes like this, but because it was so commonly requested, I decided to do it, give the people what they want. My new Master Seal item that I created works on Roy, and you can promote him whenever you want, as early as Chapter 7. Now, we are currently playtesting the game to see what happens if you promote Roy early, and then later on you get to the cutscene where he's supposed to promote. Now, based on my understanding of how the game works on the back end, I believe what's going to happen is that Roy is going to promote back from a Great Lord into a regular Lord which would be pretty hilarious, but I'll find a way to fix it before I release the final version. And if you know anything about Fire Emblem 6 hacking or modding, let me know, because obviously if someone already knows how to fix this, or just disable the forced promotion cutscene, it's going to save me a lot of time figuring it out for myself. Here are some of the other most commonly requested changes. I'm not going to include every comment and every suggestion that I got for this video. We simply got way too many of them for that to even be viable, but I tried to choose a few that had a mix of ideas that I thought were good, or ideas that received the most upvotes and the most likes. I'm going to address each one of them with my thoughts and how likely this is to be included in the hack. Ben Jamin suggested adding more connections to the story of Fire Emblem 7, and I really like this suggestion, but it's not something that I feel personally motivated or qualified to do. I think this will be best left up to, honestly, probably Nintendo themselves. Let's hope for one day that they might release a Fire Emblem 6 plus 7 remake at some point in the future, which connects the two games into one awesome unified experience. That would be really cool. Groundbreaking Bag suggested that I allow thieves to promote, and this is something that I have been considering, and I have explored different options. There's a good chance that this might make it into the final hack, but let me know what your thoughts are on this, because I'm still deciding if I want to commit to the idea, or even how I would do it. The lowest effort solution would be to have them work like the super trainees in Fire Emblem 8, where they promote into a new class that still has the same thief sprite and just has higher base stats and higher caps. If I have to go through the effort of adding custom sprites and animations for a new class, for a new promotion, if I'm already going to put in that much effort anyway, I'm probably going to do something like turn them into Fire Emblem Awakening style assassins, giving sword and bow access to Astol, Chad, and Kath would be really cool for those characters, and I could even give them one extra movement beyond the traditional promoted infantry classes in this game to simulate the value of the move plus 1 skill that you normally get in Awakening by raising as a thief. Itch Wall suggested giving a better indication or better foreshadowing for ambush spawns before they appear, and I've seen this suggestion from other comments. I've seen this suggestion in the Reddit thread. Here's the thing. I actually do have a great solution for this problem. I've had it for years, but it's not something I'm willing to invest the time and effort putting into a ROM hack. I've already been working on my own game that I'm going to publish in the future, and it takes years to make this game. I'd rather save my best ideas for my own game that I'm going to publish, rather than putting them into a fan project where I don't even own the rights and Nintendo could just destroy this ROM hack at any time. I'm not going to waste my best ideas for that. One thing that I'm considering is giving hard mode bonuses to Ray. This is also based on user feedback. And one thing I'd really love to do is give the player better indication of the guide-in requirements, so you don't need to have a wiki page open while you're playing the game, which is really tedious and annoying. This borders into the territory of requiring major changes. I would have to draw new assets. I would need to tell the game how to render them on the screen in a way that doesn't break the existing user interface. And that goes way above my coding skills, my artistic skills, my design skills, and probably even above my ambition for the scope of this project. Unless somebody else wants to help with this part, it's probably not going to get done. I do want to highlight one last comment, and I'm going to give Lamenk credit for this suggestion. I think they were the first person that I saw suggest it, although it's something I was going to do anyway, and it was requested by multiple people, but still, here's your shout out. They asked to give effective damage to the weapons against units where it was seemingly missing in Fire Emblem 6 for no real explainable reason, and I've done exactly that. The rapier, the horse slayer, and the halberd, they now work against nomads, troopers, troubadours, valkyries, and both variants of Pegasus. And this goes both ways, so be careful with your own Pegasus getting attacked by enemies. Now, I have been toying with the idea of changing the design of just one map in the game, even though it goes against my original vision. We're already a few steps from that path anyway, so I wanted to consider the possibility of redesigning anything that was a major problem. And there is one major problem in this game when it comes to map design. It is universally agreed on. If you go anywhere on the internet, it's impossible to get everyone to agree on one thing, even scientific facts. But there is one unifying thing in the Fire Emblem fandom that transcends the laws of the internet. Every single person in every Fire Emblem forum, Discord, and community space, we all agree in Chapter 8, where Lilina joins, this wall in the middle has just got to go. Removing this wall and giving the player direct access to the map, instead of forcing them to run a cross-country marathon around this huge spiral, is probably the first change that any hack should consider making if you're touching Fire Emblem 6. And if I'm going to do that anyway, I was thinking it might be a cool idea to introduce Barth's group in a different way, on an earlier turn, and get them more involved in the battle, making it similar to the chapter in Fire Emblem 8, where Erika and Ephraim reunite for the first time. Instead of slowly walking around the map and having Barth's team sit there doing nothing, I could make it like the player is fighting a battle on two different fronts. And you could try to unite your forces in the center, you could cut through two different paths, you could send people to rescue Lilina as soon as possible, you could try to run to the top corner to support Barth's team. It just makes the map tactically so much more interesting. But what do you think? Am I taking it too far? Do you like, dislike, love, or hate any of these changes? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day.